For the avoidance of doubt, the Simple Side does not provide investment, tax, or legal advice. As with any asset, the value of any asset class can go up or down, and there can be substantial risk that you lose your money buying, selling, holding, or investing in any asset. You should carefully consider whether trading or holding assets is suitable for you in light of your financial condition.
A midweek guru, insider, and politician check-in. It looks like there are whale opportunities in the market. Let's get into what in-the-know investors are doing with their dollars.
Welcome to the Simple Side. Market beating picks inside. There's no jargon and no time to waste. Join the Simple Side and end up in first place.
All right, like I said in my quick little intro there, welcome back to what is and is still named the Saturday Sendout from the Simple Side, but we're doing podcasts on Wednesday now as well. Anyway, we're going to figure out the title for that, but we're not going to worry about it now because we have too much trading action to pay attention to. We're going to go and look what all of these gurus, insiders, and politicians are doing in this extremely volatile market. As you know, I love to hear what you guys have to say about the formats that I use, about what I talk about, all that stuff. So if you're reading along with the newsletter, which you can find at thesimpleside.substack.com, and it should be the main newsletter that shows up, click on that and then go through and click that start survey button at the very top. Let me know what you think about what we're talking about, if I should change it, if I should change up the format, what I'm talking about, if you want me to go more in depth on certain things, and we're going to get into all of that stuff for you guys. So make sure to let me know what you think. All right, we're going to start with Guru Trades. And like I said, you should be following along at thesimpleside.substack.com on the newsletter because we have some great graphics in this week's newsletter. We're talking about a big chart here that's showing you where all of the money flows are going in the S&P 500 right now with gurus. Again, anybody that's got a portfolio over $100 million who we're considering a guru in this instance. The top 3 stocks, which should not be a surprise to anybody, are Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. We've seen that for so long now. There should be no surprise that those are in the top picks. Coming up with a close 4, 5, and 6 are Meta, ELV, which I think is Elevance Health, but I'm not 100% sure on that. We've got AVGO, which of course is Broadcom, followed closely by Charles Schwab, CRM, PFE, DHR, COF, Adobe, Humana, and a big one that we're going to talk about later in this newsletter, United Health. We're going to talk about that in great detail. We have been talking about that in our past newsletters. So, like I said, those are some of the top picked stocks. Go and check out the newsletter to see some of the bigger ones. Something else I've got for you here are the most recent trades made by gurus, and I've got 2 of them that happened last week. I've got a trade by Warren Buffett and a trade by VA Partners 1 LLC, which of course is just a group of investors. So what did Buffett do? Everybody loves to hear what Buffett did. Well, he sold, not out completely, but he sold a piece of one of the stocks that he owns. He sold 0.59% of his holdings in DaVita, ticker DVA. He sold at a price of $138.85, and the current price at the time I wrote this article, which it could have changed by then, is $136.26, which is a decrease of 1.87% since his trade. So things are going down, but not in a drastic way. It's not like he sold right before a massive sell-off, and it doesn't seem like he's making any major adjustments to his portfolio just because he only reduced by 0.59%. Now, we've got VA Partners here. They also sold one of their holdings, but they reduced by 17.33%, and the ticker is NSIT. Insight Enterprises is the name of the company, and to be honest, I've never heard of this company. But it seems they made a good trade, selling at $132.08. The stock price is now down to $130.27, a decrease of 1.37% since their trade. And like I said, doesn't seem like anything too major here. VA Partners isn't a massive firm and it does not have a big following, so it's probably not worth following either of these trades. Of course, if you're invested in DVA and NSIT, it might be worth paying a bit more attention and seeing if you can find a reason that these people sold out. And if you think you need to join them, go ahead and join them. But I've got nothing major to say about either of those trades. All right, the next thing that I have for you is insider trading, which of course is super, super interesting and important to watch, especially when you're looking at volatile markets, which includes stocks taking big, big dips and some hitting crazy, crazy highs. So let's look at what the overall insider market is doing. As of June 2025, the very beginning of June, the insider buy-sell ratio is 0.39. In the previous month was also 0.39, which shows a neutral sentiment about insider holdings. So nothing to pay attention to there. However, over the past 5 years, the highest overall market insider buy-sell ratio was 0.81 back in May of 2022, and the lowest ratio was 0.17 in February of 2023. So we're right in the middle of that. Nothing too terrible, nothing too great to pay attention to there. However, this week we are seeing seas of red. At least last week, we were seeing seas of red. Now, if you're following along on the newsletter, you see the 10 largest trades from last week on your screen. The 10 largest trades from last week by insiders. And out of those 10, 8 of them are sells. 8 of them are sells. And the total volume of selling of these top 10 vastly outnumbers the total buying by insiders, at least in this top 10 group. And of course, we know that selling is a big thing for insiders. We know that that ratio is 0.39, so much more people selling than buying in the current market. But that is not what is the most important thing. We want to talk about what the largest trade was, the largest sell. What was the largest sell? It was a $554 million sell of ticker HESM, which I believe is Hess Midstream. Let's see if it says the name here. Yeah, Hess Midstream LP, which of course is a spinoff of ticker HES, which I believe is Hess Oil. They're an energy company. Now, there's a few reasons here that I think this large sell happened. And I think one of them, if you're following along in the newsletter, you'll see one of them is their massive growing debt pile and their limited cash reserves. They have grown their debt to, I want to say, $3 billion, $3.5 billion. And back in 2019, they were only at about $1.75 billion. So they've doubled their debt from 2019 till now. Maybe they picked up some great debt back in 2019. They had those low rates, or excuse me, not 2019. They had those low rates during COVID, I guess 2019 as well. They had those low rates during COVID years. So we've got the early 2020s. They probably picked up some low rate debt there, but they're still growing their debt, picking up some very, very high debt right now. Something that's not super attractive to me. Another thing that's been going on is Hess has a big lawsuit on the horizon, and I'm sure that fighting that in some way, shape, or form has probably played into this $500 million sell. By the way, BlackRock is the company making that sell. BlackRock is the one making that sell. So do as you wish there. I don't have a great opinion on Hess. I heard that they're doing some kind of merger acquisition. I believe they were in talks to do some kind of merger acquisition. So I'm not 100% sure where the sell's coming from. Maybe that M&A deal is not going to go through, or maybe BlackRock is taking some money out at the top from when they last bought. Now, the only buy worth paying attention to from insiders was by ticker LION. It's Liongates Studio, and I'm not 100% sure who made the buy. I don't think I kept track of it, but it was a $48 million buy, and the stock is up 10% since the insider bought, but it's still down 8.85% year to date, which means there might be a chance for you to get into this company with a little bit more room to run. However, I think this is a great lesson in the world of following insiders. Not everyone always makes the best decision, and it's best to wait and find something that you think is a quote unquote sure opportunity before you decide to buy something. The stock and the company as a whole just look terrible to me. They don't have a steady revenue growth rate. In fact, they don't even have steady revenue. They don't have steady net income or net income at all in some instances. And of course, EBITDA you can go and look at, but we all know that EBITDA is BS, as Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have both mentioned back in the day. Again, you can go check out Lion if you think that it's got some more room to run. I don't think so. I don't like the company overall. But who knows? They could have some big deals in the work that an insider knows about. So go and check that out if you think it's going to be a big mover. All right, I have been talking for way too long, so I'm going to skip through politician trading pretty quick here, but I want to mention something that is violently important. I'm actually going to hit on two things. The first is that the current overall politician buy-sell ratio is 16.4. 16.4, which is higher than the 5-year average of 1.29. 1.29 is the 5-year average, and we're at 16.4 in the world of politicians right now, which heavily, especially with all of the market action surrounding Trump's tweets and trades, this is heavily interesting to me. But that's not the only interesting thing that I'm seeing. There's another thing, which is buys of United Health Group. And you guys know I've been talking about United Health Group for a while now in a lot of my newsletters. I just think it's so interesting that the stock is so beaten up, but there seems to be buyers on every side of the aisle for this company. Every side of the aisle. You'll remember that I talked about it earlier. There was a $10 billion inflow from some of these big corporations. $10 billion flowing into the stock. I think they were the number 10 stock. And of course, you can go and look at how much has been put into UNH in that graphic that I put above. But we've also got politicians buying as well. But they've been buying for a long time. They bought back in March. They were buying in April. They bought in May. I mean, they have been all over this company, buying both before and after the dips. So, what does that mean? It means that UNH is poised for a comeback, at least if you look at insiders, politicians, and some of the smartest money movers in the market, BlackRock, Vanguard, all of the above. They're all putting money into the company. It's crazy. In fact, I was just talking to my brother today about the stock, and I pulled up the insider trades for UNH. UNH has not had a month, maybe 1 month, over the past 10 years where insiders bought more of the stock than they sold. There has not been 1 month where insiders bought more UNH stock, the CEO, the CFO, the CTO. They did not buy more UNH stock one time over the past 10 years, not 1 month. And all of a sudden, the stock drops 40 to 50%, and we see the highest inflows from insiders into the company in the company's history. The highest inflows in the company's history. I really think this is something worth looking into and paying attention to. Of course, there is so much risk around UNH, so much risk. We've got fraud risk. We have CEOs that are being killed. It is a very risky company to go into, but it seems like all of the smart money is betting on it. Now, I said I wasn't going to talk that long, and here we are. I'm talking forever, but I've got one last thing that I want to touch on. And paying subscribers, this is for you specifically. You should go and look at what I have down below the paywall. It is ridiculous. It's incredible. I'm going to talk about it on the podcast. So if you're listening, you are lucky. You're going to hear what I have to say, but you need to go and look at this because you guys are all going to have early access to this and free access for a period of time to this website app that I am rolling out. And it is being worked on now. In fact, the core components of the website are being tested as we speak. So just be paying attention to that. All right. Here's what I wanted to tell you that paying subscribers can go and read more about. The website that I'm building recently sent me a notification and said Estee Lauder is a high conviction trade by market insiders, market gurus, all that good stuff. Estee Lauder. It said you need to go and check this stock out. So I went ahead and I checked it out. I bought a couple of shares, nothing crazy, but I did put in a little bit of money. And I just go to check my holdings. Estee Lauder is up 19.46% over the past month. 19.46%. Guys, this website is going to be super cool. I just want to say thank you is really what I'm trying to say. Thank you for supporting me to the point that we're at now. I'm so excited to be able to give back something so incredible to you guys. Just, like I said, thank you so much for all the support. It's been amazing. It's meant the world to me. We're going to keep doing all this stuff. We're going to keep making incredible trades. Of course, like I said, pay attention to all these flows right now. It's very important with everything that's happening in the market. And we will see you next week.